Hi. Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. So, hello to everyone. Welcome. We are here today. I'm here with Rasmus, who is going to be talking us through some of the security features and the various parts of extended ECM that focus on the idea of security with collaboration, which is a key topic for us. We've been talking about that for a while. The ability for people to increase the security of their data, but not implement anything that's actually going to hinder the efficiency of their workforce or people that are working on it. So firstly, Rasmus, hello again. Do you want to give us just a quick overview of your experience, how long you've been with Turnpike, so on and so forth?
Yeah, sure, of course. So I've been with Turnpike now for a little bit over a year, and I work as an ECM consultant with Turnpikes, and I've been basically on projects from day one almost, working with mainly in the Swedish public sector with a big client there, but also on some other smaller things as well. Yes, that's about my story there.
Excellent. So I guess from the point of view of working with a public company there, that brings on the first question of security, right? That's paramount in most places, but particularly in that industry, right?
Yeah, of course it is, and it's actually a bit special maybe because of Swedish law and so on. That main our main goal is not that anyone should not be able to access certain information, but the opposite, that it should be able to be accessed by almost anyone, and also that documents should not be deleted by anyone almost ever. So it's definitely a lot of security thinking there, but maybe in a bit of a different way than you're used to in other companies.
So that is a really interesting point, and I genuinely hadn't thought of that. But one of the things we want to talk about today is obviously the increasing collaboration, but and increasing access without sort of risking security. And on the flip side of that, increasing security without limiting sort of efficiency.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that kind of implementation where external people need to be able to get to stuff, why is extended ECM by OpenText somewhere you've spent so much time? How does it help you?
Well, I do think that something that makes security within extended ECM really quite easy, I would say, or is to set up, is to use roles. I think that is something that if you're having your system set up, I think that's a good place to start. What roles do we have in the company, and uh, which roles needs to be set up so that the right people can access the right stuff. And I think if you start with that and have that already, then setting up everything else is much easier. So then you can assign privileges to these different roles and so on for people within the company. And I think that that is a big first step to make sure that the right person has access to the right stuff, and that they don't can access some of the other stuff that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, and so when that comes to efficiency,
Hmm.
one of the things we talk about a lot is that people will people will find their own way to be efficient, right? That's
Yeah.
just the nature of humans. So is there sort of a point where if those roles are set up incorrectly, or there's not enough thought into the change process of sort of setting those up, that you've found in real life people can't get to what they need to, or they find a way around the system to do that?
Yes, I do believe so. I think that that's a big part of why people will go around the system. That something has gone wrong in some of the assigning privileges, so that you've missed a bunch of people that should use this document in their daily work, and now they don't have access to it. So what do? They either, if they're in the office, they go to their colleague and say, "Hey, can I get that document?" Or if they're remote, they write on Teams or something to their colleague, and then you have uh, a bunch of documents. Not only that they're getting them from outside the system, but a big problem is that then there's no audit trail for them. So should something happen or go wrong, and you want to look at it, you don't see anything in the audit trail. So I think that setting up roles and also setting up viewing options um, within content server and ECM, such as intelligent viewing and so on, to make more and more things be integrated within the system. All of that stuff I think helps a lot towards not having anyone stepping outside of the system and uh, doing it a way that they find is easier.
Yeah, so I guess avoiding that entirely is nearly impossible, right? It's pretty hard. But I guess you
Yeah, it
can,
is, but you can maximize at least
yeah,
what you can do to avoid it.
yeah, I think that's a good point, isn't it? We've even spoken about this when it comes to sort of working in Vim as well for SAP, where if you go in touchless, you can limit the areas that are sort of in the extremities, which are outside your usual area of work. So I think
Yeah,
you did say something there which is interesting to me as well, which is audit trails. So
yeah,
we've published stuff on audit trails and why they're more than just who did what.
yeah.
Um, have you seen an example where you've implemented or used audit trails to just kind of track where there's a problem in implementation and then fix it?
Yeah, I would say since I for different periods of time, I've done a lot of maintenance work with the extended ECM for this Swedish public sector customer, and their audit trails is really important because something goes wrong, a document can't be opened anymore, or looks strange, or something has happened. Then audit trails is basically where I go first all the time to see, okay, who has done something here? Okay, was this person, did this person have permission to do this? And so on and so forth. So I think that audit trails is, for me, it's been mostly for troubleshooting and so on, exploring why problem has occurred. But of course, should there be a situation where uh, you suspect that someone has been handling documents in a way they shouldn't, and so on, it's of course there as well to check on that and make sure that nothing has happened that shouldn't have.
Yeah, and I guess you can use that as well for. We talk about AI a lot and things like that, but you could use that to recognize where flaws are in a manual process, right? If you see
Yeah,
consistent behavior in an audit trail.
yeah, of course, of course. So if we get informed for the third time that week that the same errors happened, and you see that in the audit trail that they think they have to go in here and fix this, or maybe even the process is not that good, so they have to go in here and do stuff that they really shouldn't have to with this document or with this in this workflow or something like that. Then that's of course a good sign that something needs to be changed, or something needs to be, yeah, different in the way they work or in the process.
So I guess that brings me on to the question everyone always, like, in all of the comments we get about every video we've ever done or all of the things we say, that people want experience. They want to understand the knowledge that we have and why we're useful for that. So is there any sort of example of something like that you've seen where you're working there, you have to iterate on these things? Your first implementation is good, but it's never going to be perfect. That's just the way it works. So are there any examples you've got of where you've seen something like that, you've spotted it, or a client's come to you and said, we're seeing this, how do we address that?
Yeah, I mean that happens quite frequently, I would say. I think that especially within this, yeah, where I have been working quite a lot here in Sweden with the public sector.
Hmm.
There's a lot of workflows. A lot of what they work with is workflows, and it's workflows for different kind of things. It could be that you're applying for some kind of subsidy from the government, or it could be a workflow for just how a document is, after a meeting, a protocol should be signed by this person and this person and this person, and then it's becomes a public record, and so on and so forth. And I think there you see very often that the reason that we change something, or the reason that something ends up as a development task, is that we see from the end that the end users are uh, experiencing something. It could be a delay, for example, something takes way longer than it should, or it could be that well, these workflows are never getting through because the right person isn't getting an email when they should, that they have to sign something, and so on. So I think that a lot of what we react to is end user experience not being what was expected on the first implementation. And I think you're very correct there that you have a great idea usually from the beginning, but the first implementation uh, is almost never perfect. And I don't think it should be either, because I think a lot about working sort of at the system administrator level or so on with the extended ECM is about learning every day that end users have ideas that you didn't think about, and which ways you can use those ideas to make it better.
Yeah, I say this is the most important thing for me. Once it gets into the real world, once you've gone through the theory of implementation and you can do all of that work beforehand, but you give it to someone who does something every day,
Yeah,
they'll tell you straight away what's wrong with
exactly.
it. And they may be right, they may not be right, but you will learn all of the nuances that way, because I don't think people truly understand what they're doing until they physically do it. It's really hard to recall muscle
Yeah,
memory.
it is. It's very hard.
Yeah, so I think that's always an important thing, and people do need to understand that if you're going into ECM or EIM, the ability to iterate on these things is what makes them successful. It's really important, and you have to understand where the foundations are before you jump to, oh, how do we overlay AI on top of this, or
Yeah,
all these sort of amazing things. Unless your foundations and your master data and your general setup is correct, you got no chance of getting that
yeah.
overlaid on
I
top.
think that's very, very, very true. I think that getting the base processes down and getting them approved by everyone and really efficient. I think that's the key to then, on top of that, being able to make additions or tweak that. Um, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I've only got two more questions for you. Um, Firstly, I wanted to ask you about connecting applications.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the joys of extended ECM is that ability to connect leading applications and bring in other data and make sure everything's accessible in one place. What's the most sort of success you've seen in that space in your experience?
Um, I think that the most success is a hard question. There's a lot of good ones, but I think that one of the ones that I've at least worked with colleagues who work with a lot and had experience with is extreme for viewing and generating documents. I think that's been very successful for this Swedish public sector customer, especially. There's a lot of protocols and sort of meeting notes, even and things like that should look a specific way, and it helps a lot that they have this extreme service to generate, basically all of these documents. Um, and then I think that also I've been in charge of installing intelligent viewing, which is an OpenText product, but it's an addition again to Content Server and ECM. And I think that's a very good product as well. I think that it helps people who see a lot of documents daily and basically have to open documents all day long and check for things or just look for 1 second in a document and then move on. I think I think intelligent viewing is great because you can see the document in the same window that you're in Content Server. Whereas before, or if you use Enterprise Connect or something like that, it will open it in the uh, third-party app instead.
Right. And so where do you see the best uses of that? I mean, I know obviously you're working with one particular sort of public sector client, but can you see that working well for regulated entities? What support does it give you if you're in, say, healthcare or financial services?
Which one, intelligent viewing or the other one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the intelligent view.
yeah. I think. I mean, I would say the benefit would probably still be pretty much the same. I think that for example, if you're working in a financial sector or something, you could, let's say you're going to see invoices that you have saved for a certain client, for example, and and you invoice them monthly. So there's a list of 200 invoices over the last few years. Then you could, instead of having to click and then open Word and it opens and maybe it's a bit, you have to scroll a bit and then you have to look for some certain number. You can just be in the folder where the invoices are, click one, it opens in like a in on the same screen, and you can check everything. Then you just click next and you get that open, and click next and get that open. So I think it's gonna be a big benefit in those in those areas. I think it's gonna be similar to just looking in File Explorer on Windows, but instead you have it within your ECM system.
I think the thing we do at Turnpikes is we always say we make life simpler.
Yeah.
That sounds very much like it makes life a lot
Yeah,
simpler.
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really good. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so final question for you. Let's imagine you're just walking in the implementation of extended ECM and everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that if you see, you go, oh no, what now what? I'm keen for everyone who sort of watches to know what potential pitfalls are from the outset. So if you see something you think, right, that's going to be a challenge.
I would say maybe something that I have encountered a couple of times that is that can make the project take a while longer than it has. I think is when you're in a meeting that's supposed to be sort of a decision meeting. Okay, so let me hear from you. This is exactly what we're gonna do. Maybe you have an Excel sheet where you put in information regarding folders and files and so on. And then you basically realize that this meeting is more of an internal discussion for them, and they don't really know where to start.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I think you as a consultant or as a project lead, you have to be pretty assertive in the beginning before your first meeting or before your first workshop that, this is just to make things go easier for everybody. This is what I think you should have figured out as we sit down for the workshop.
Yeah, I think the important thing when you're doing any project, and we've said it a number of times, is the right partner from the beginning, because I think you need that support. Sometimes you do need that external guidance to say, right, this is what we definitely need to know before we start.
Yeah.
Because you're at risk of creep and feature creep, or
Of course.
any form of sort of ambiguity can cause delay or an implementation that people didn't really want in the first place because it does something that's not supposed to do because one voice was louder than another. And I think that's vital. So I think most people who either work from the consulting side or on the client side truly understand that problem as well.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone comes out of that thinking that went well. So yeah, I think that's great. Well, Rasmus, thank you for your time. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
If anyone would like to know anything else, please feel free to get in touch. I'll pop our email address up in a second. You can grab that, drop us a mail, and we'll get back to you. So thanks again, Rasmus. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.